they'll rewatch the recording. All right, so good morning, everyone. I hope you had a great evening. Good morning so far. Bon matin, buongiorno. Good morning. This is Friday, last day of the week. Should be an interesting one. Yeah, let's do it step by step, but I think it's important to dig a bit deeper. Overall, I think that the market remains very healthy. That's the same rotation in broader market that we're talking about for a few weeks now, few days at least. And when you look internally, you have the S&P 500 still in that base, that VCP, right at the breakout level. All right, 75.93 is where we would break out from that downtrend line, from that recent contraction range as well. We're still building those higher lows. So the breakout potential is there. All right, it might be too obvious and we'll need to shake out or fail breakout, or I don't know. But all I know is we're a pretty significant level that should give us direction from here. So if we reject, see that I don't speak in certainty as well. All right. I'm not, even if I'm committed with exposure, there's nothing guaranteed in the stock market. All right. So if we reject that area and we start to break down and break the 21 DMA structure and break that uptrend line as well, then hey, defense time. We're breaking down. That base is failing. We'll adjust and react to it. If we break out from here, then we have a chance for continuation. Okay, that's the same scenario in the small caps. If we look at the Russell, we're still building those higher lows, higher lows, higher lows, higher lows. And then we confirm a daily reversal yesterday. We retested that reversal pivot overnight, and now back green. So it's looking good. It's looking good for a continuation as well. Now, NASDAQ is lagging. All right, so there's a couple things that I want to touch here. And I think that the NASDAQ, the Q trade could be a bit messy. We could see that broader market do much better before we see the NASDAQ do much better, in my opinion. Because if you look at the constituent, all right, so you have the mags taking a large part. Those are looking good, okay? You have that pullback, that correction that we just had. Then we reclaimed the 21 DMA structure. We back tested 2 times with that higher low / shakeout, and then confirmed the daily reversal thanks to Meta. All right, there was a news on Meta, and Meta certainly has a big say in that price action in mags. But what I'm looking at is the leading groups from that recent market cycle. If you look at memory, at opticals, at semis, yes, that was some nice gap ups yesterday. But we had that 21 DMA structure failure, breakdown. And right now it's just the first initial retest of the declining 21 DMA structure. And you have that in all the memory stocks. Okay, so that's why I'm saying, and that's the same in Marvel, for example, ASML, same thing. You have those breakdown, retest, rejection with a bad close. So that's why I think that NASDAQ trade will not be a walk in the park. So maybe the mega caps are doing well, support the NASDAQ, good. But I still see those semis. That's the same thing with SMH, by the way. So let's take SMH, for example, because this is a big part. And will reflect a bit of the action we see in the Marvel, in the semiconductors in general, in the memory stocks as well. You see the same thing in opticals with GLW, with that big snapback breakdown. And that was, again, the first initial rejection of the declining 21-day mid structure. So yeah, there was some nice net move yesterday. Okay, but all those moves in those recent leading names in groups were pretty much all right into a declining 21-day mid structure, and we saw that rejection. So yeah, SMH. So what do we do from here? Okay, we're still in that potential bigger base. Okay, so we're not there yet, dead yet. Not because we reject that structure, because we reject that declining 21-day mid structure, that we're dead. But when I say that we might be messy, it's because probably that we need to build the right side. Okay, if we remain constructive and those names really base, we could be seeing something as some weakness to close the week, forming some kind of higher low, and then set up the move for next week. Or maybe we have really strong action today, we reclaim and then backtest. But after a breakdown and around the structure, it might actually be usually pretty messy. And that's why I'm saying, if you're looking at the cues, you might not get the full story. And that might swing a lot, and that might be red while the Russell and the S&P 500 is green and doing well. That's the rotation that we saw in the last few days. And I think that it will still be going on until those names, those semis, and those recent leading groups really firm up the right side. They build their higher lows. They trade around the 21-day mid structure. And that's always an area of battle between the buyers and sellers. All right, so if you look at internals, again, everything looks good. We had a downside reversal on the VIX after a spike and a rejection and another lower high. So that's very good to see. Same thing on the credit spreads. Lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high with that spike on Wednesday. Confirmed a downside reversal yesterday despite that upper range close, but gapping down to a new low. So credit spreads still looks good. QQQE still looks good as well. Still holding the 21-day mid structure. Brett looks good as well. So we have a reconfirmation of the uptrend on the McClellan summation, with McClellan oscillator flipping back up positive. We're back above the 10 DMA. So we're back into a breadth expansion regime. All right, if you look at the NASDAQ, the last few days has not been easy. We're in distribution since that 5th of June. All right, so since that largest down day of the last 52 weeks, we had more distribution and more sell day and contraction than anything else. So let's see if we can flip that with that McClellan summation trying to reconfirm the expansion regime. That would mean more expansion than contraction, more advancer than decliners each day. And that's what you need to sustain an uptrend. So if you look at April, when we started that April move, we had the same thing, largest one day of the last 52 weeks, just like we started that down day with that distribution, that base, all right, that first distribution. So we started April with that plus 100 GDB, and then look after, we have a lot more green and advancers than we have decliners. Then it switched. That's the chop, that's the basing period that we just went through. So let's see if that McClellan summation can help that, if we can sustain nicer action and on average more advancer than decliners. That's what will make trading easier. Liquid leaders held the 21 DMA structure. We need to see that hold. The McClellan summation didn't. Okay, so it's flat. We have MCO at minus 0.05. So basically flat. Let's see which side it swings today. All right, so you see the semis trending below the 21 DMA structure. Oh yeah, and the next part that I wanted to say is, yes, the semis, memory, opticals might not be ready, they need time to base, but if you really focus on the emerging teams, on the groups and teams that are leading, then you actually have good feedback and good traction. In cybersecurity, for example, to some extent, it's still tech, but semis, hardware, ALAB, CRDO did well. Healthcare, defense and security. So HWM that I'm in. Look at the foundry names. All broke down from the 21 DMA structure and rejected. ENTC, GFS, TSEM. That's all the same picture, and that's why I'm thinking more about that the tech trade, the semi trade is not ready, because those groups are breaking down relative strength wise. There's areas that are improving better and that are showing better relative strength. And until these reclaim the 21 DMA structure, again, that NASDAQ trade could be a bit more bumpy. Even Bloom Energy starting to live below the 21 DMA structure. GLP-1 obesity trade. All right, Lili and EMS looking good. Restaurant and travel. LTH, not a setup, but VIC was one. It was in Focuslist, respecting the 21 DMA structure. You have some good opportunity in software. Snow, App, Frog is above structure. You had Twilio, GTLB, GitLab as well. Strong push from the 21 day structure. We had MDB in Focuslist as well. That's the kind of area that are attracting money and where the money is. Healthcare, again, diagnostics, GH and TRA, LNTH, database, DDOG. Look at that chart. MDB that I have in Focuslist. No, I already have a position. DT as well. But look at the difference between those teams and a Marvel and SanDisk and ENTC. All right, so maybe I'm all wrong and that rotation will fail and those semis will go back into a new all-time high in 2 days. But that's not what the relative strength is telling us, and that's not what the chart are telling us for now. Card trying to make a new high. Look at this, electronic distribution. Yeah, they are really in distribution. SNX, AVT, same thing with semis hardware. Look how they are now very much lower in relative strength as well. AMAT, MKSI, ACMR, reclaim the 21 day structure, so that's kind of the strongest with ICHR. AI infrastructure, probably the best group. Dell, Peng, ANET, really strong. You have VRT with a reclaim. I will watch that for the back test. You have HPE, super strong as a catch-up trade yesterday. App and software, looking very good with that reclaim and back test. So you see, MPWR, look at semis. Look how they are starting to trend below the 21 day structure. And those strongest are around the 21 day structure, trying to reclaim. Those a bit less strong are just inside the structure and rejecting. And the weakest are already trading well below the 21 day structure and rejecting that structure on the retest during their downtrend. So that's the same story. Look at memory group. Same thing. Micron, Western, SanDisk, and the weakest of the group, much longer. So will these follow the lagging names? That remains to be seen. But that's the same picture in tech. You have good action in life science tools. BRKR, RVTI, Argent, look how it pushed from the 21 day structure. Apps, I shared that yesterday. So all in all, to say that I think that there's more digestion, distribution, however you want to call it, in tech, in semis, in memory, in opticals. And that's why I'm staying far away from those. That's why I try to build a good portfolio outside of those semis and memory and photonics. So if you look at my current portfolio, let me add the group and the team. right, and let me save that. All right, so two position in still hardware, semi and hardware, but the group behind the group of Dell and those are the strongest. They seems to hold, and let's see if they can lead a bit more. But yeah, so in software, restaurant, aerospace, genomics, cybersecurity, and software. So not saying that I'm chasing the rotation, but I'm just recognizing that the semis, I won't list them all over again, but you see the point. All those recent market cycle leaders might need more time to digest, to base, while the rest of the market is looking good, and there's a lot of teams emerging and leading, and I want to be on top of those. Okay, that's the leading and emerging teams that I want to be on top of. And I have that list really well focused there with TradersLab, and that really helps to be in the right groups and right teams that are picking up in relative strength. If you look at the trajectory of the relative strength, I want to be in those that are picking up or going sideways after still leading. But that's where I want to be at. All right, so let's look at some chart requests. I ramble enough. So I'm being asked about SLS. Oh, no. that's a good group, okay? But it's way too extended. From the 50, from the 21. Okay, maybe it's building some kind of a flag. But for me, if I want to size, if I want to manage risk, if I don't want to buy extended, I want to see that action in the 21 DMA structure. ABCL. Yeah, that's better, but that's a biotech, this one. Is it clinical stage? Yeah, be careful with those guys. In TradersLab, I always have a filter to remove biotech, especially those clinical trial. So ABCL engage in the development of therapeutic antibodies. It offers antibody discovery platform that searches, decodes, and analyzes natural. Okay, no, wait, it's not. Okay, we'd have to research that. To be honest, it's still a biotech, but it doesn't seem to develop. Treatments by itself. Unclear. Would have to research that before investing. ACAM. Yeah, I would personally. That's kind of a rotation play. Now you have the reclaim. I would watch for the back test. All right, let that 21 DMA structure flip up. And yeah, watch for the back test. Fig. Oh. Yeah, that's trying to play this That's trying to play this. That's trying to play this. That's trying to play this. All right. Okay, maybe it's setting up and maybe it goes back to 100. Okay. But that's a long-term downtrend which didn't prove at all yet that it can really flip to an uptrend. So with those names, to be honest, I'm more cautious. I like to see kind of those being taken out. Even you can look at the most recent base. And then if it breaks out, then it gets into your radar and you can trade it. But I would be careful. And again, maybe it holds and we really push, but the odds are the downtrend is still there. Yeah, that's why you guys are throwing me all the names that I never heard of. You're fishing in the small liquidity pool, and you just look at the chart and you know this right away. It's sloppy. So yeah, there's a setup. So you have your base breakout, retest, breakout, backtest of that area right here, higher low, daily reversal. Now it's a bit too high though, so you have to watch it here. So yeah, it's nice to wait for that confirmation, but for me, it means that it's already past an entry. They make check scanners. Could they be replaced with AI within 2 weeks? I'm just throwing the idea. Yeah, that's true. The chart says no. Yeah. All right. All valid point, guys. Follow the chart. Price action first. All right. So this is it, guys. Okay. This is the session. For myself, I have the exposure. I have traction. I'm well diversified outside of semis and memory and opticals. Well, would I personally open MITK? No, because it does not fit my universe filters. It does not fit my liquidity filters and probably other things. So it's not on my radar. But yesterday, low in the 21 day structure would have been a great entry, yes. Even the day before on Wednesday. Yeah, so that's it, guys. Be careful if you engage in those reset market cycle leaders, meaning semis, memory, and opticals. Again, the same names that we discussed today. Uh, it's okay to play them from the 50 if they are really the leaders, and you believe that they can uh, stabilize and build their right side, and they're still basing, so that's still digestion, and they are not breaking down more than they are. They're still hanging around the 21 DMA structure, but just be careful not being over concentrated in those as well. It's okay to pick one or two, see if they can improve, see if they can work, and then you increase that exposure as you gain more information, more data on the right side, as you see them reclaim their 21 DME structure, as you see them backtest their 21 DME structure and hold on the backtest, on and on and on, and those groups are taking back leadership. That's personally what I will watch and do. And again, I'm not in a hurry to re-engage in those at the moment. So probably not a lot for me to do today. I don't plan any new exposure. I'm pretty good around 85% that I'm right now. Probably if shit hit the fans, then I will scale back. But if chop day or good traction, then that will be a day to sit, and I'm going into the weekend with the exposure that I have. Okay, so have a good Friday, everyone. Take care, and also have a good weekend. Okay, take care. Bye bye.